Welcome to the ITSPmagazine podcast network. You are about to listen to the After 40 podcast with Dr. Deborah Heiser. Whether you're seeking inspiration, guidance, or a fresh perspective on the rich possibilities life offers after 40, this podcast is your go-to source.
Welcome to After 40. I'm so excited to be here today with Shawn Perry. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. I hope you'll check out the previous episodes. And if you've been here all along, I think you're in for a real treat today because Shawn Perry is a really cool guy. He has an amazing story, and I can't wait to share it with you. Shawn Perry is the executive producer and host of The Senior Zone. It's a weekly radio program dedicated to serving the needs of older adults in the community. And he's been doing this since 2012. He has worked tirelessly to promote the well-being of older adults and to champion their causes. He attributes his reverence for the older adults to his late grandmother, Rosa Perry, who instilled a profound sense of empathy for the vulnerable, frail, and elderly. Shawn is a retired military officer. He served almost 22 years in the U.S. Air Force, and he has a BS from the University of Maryland and has lived in the D.C. area since 1985. Welcome, Shawn.
Hello, Dr. Heiser. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. And, I'm so excited to have you on today because I have gotten to know you bit by bit over the years and through your radio show and following what you do. I didn't know that you were retired from the Air Force. How did you get from the Air Force to helping seniors get connected in the community?
Well, first, let me thank you for this opportunity to come on your podcast. I am truly, truly honored, Dr. Heiser. So thank you there and for all the work that you do in the field of aging as well. Unlike you, I'm not an expert, but I am a guy that, has a passion for our older adult community. As you said from my bio, I have a grandmother no longer with me. That's just instilled just respect for human beings in general, but in particular, the elderly. So to answer your question, Air Force, right? 22 years or nearly 22 years there. I retired in 2004, went to work for the healthcare companies, the big ones, the big box healthcare companies. I won't name them here, but you probably have a healthcare policy with one of them. But it was during those journeys with the healthcare companies I was with that my experience in the senior community was developing. And I quickly found that, while there are many well-intentioned companies and organizations and individuals out there, that I was becoming a mini resource center for, the regular folk. I like to say Miss Hattie Mae and Mr. Jimmy John out there who would call me for information because my job at the time took me into the senior community, into the senior buildings, the rec centers. I got to know people in my community that I had never known before, but they would call me for information. So the idea of a radio show, it was manna from heaven, I guess, dropped in my lap and I ran with it. It said, start a radio show, connect the dots, become a conduit, a connection point, a platform for, Miss Hattie Mae and Mr. Jimmy Johns and Miss Ruth and all those sort of folks out there where they can come and have a trusted place to receive information that could hopefully improve the quality of their lives. So I ran with it. That's all that I did. I said yes instead of saying no. I'm someone, Dr. Heiser, that I don't have any journalism background. I didn't have any radio experience at all. And so I was a nervous wreck when we first started the Senior Zone, but it's gotten better and it's been the best decision that I have ever made outside of the birth of my daughter. And so it's just been a wonderful experience and I've learned so much.
I love that you, got your start with your grandma. I really can relate to that because my grandpa was a real force in my life. for doing what I do. But I'm sure that so many other people have grandparents who were instrumental in their lives and their decisions in their later lives. The other cool thing is that you pivoted in midlife. You went in midlife and said, I'm going to do something I've never done before. And look at where it's taken you. It's been more than 12 years and you're helping so many people. What a departure from the Air Force to be helping people with everything from soup to nuts, and starting with healthcare, which, is taken care of for you in the military with, veteran services. So you really were outside of everything that you had grown accustomed to. Very cool.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, when I look back, I even have to say to myself, and I'm not patting myself on the back by no means, but it is an interesting story. I did pivot in midlife. I was just shy of turning 50 when I launched, the senior zone, 49 somewhere. I don't know exactly where. And so, into something that it was totally foreign to me, as I mentioned before. But, I started saying yes in life. You know this already. After 40, after 45, after 50, you don't really care as much what other people think and say about you as much. You have more confidence in yourself. And so I just ran with it when I decided to start a radio program. And it's inspiring because I want other people to do what inspires them and not overanalyze it. I didn't know everything at the time when the senior zone was launched. It was in November of 2012. I didn't know everything. I just ran with it and I learned as I went instead of trying to have everything on the front end, right? You had to have all the T's and all the I's dotted before you start. And that, in my opinion, leads to paralysis. You don't start, it holds you back. And so I just ran with it, and it's just been a blessing. It's taken me, to interview senators and congressmen and just people that I wouldn't have otherwise have met. Celebrities have been on the senior zone now. I've met the likes of Dr. Deborah Heisers of the world. It's just been a great run. But more importantly than all of that, I can say with confidence that we are touching the lives. We are improving the quality of life, for older adults. I get to hear, diverse perspectives. I get to hear unique stories from seniors out in the community. I get hugs and kisses and you name it when I'm out in the community. So it's paid me back more than I have put into it. And so, and I thank you for this opportunity as well. I learn about, the many challenges that our older adults, face it's given me even more empathy and more compassion, for the plight of our older adults, particularly those that are of lower income, those that are frail, those that are isolated. If you have a heart, you have a greater heart or a bigger heart for our older adult community when you sit down with them.
What's the biggest thing you've learned? Because I know that you're helping other people learn about resources out there, but you've interviewed so many people. It's been more than a decade of you doing this. What have you learned from those that you're serving?
That's a good question. And it's probably too much to share right now. What I've learned is that, first and foremost, while there's good information out there by, national organizations, local organizations, individuals, that is still not enough. There's room to improve the quality of life for our older adults. There's information that I repeat oftentimes because our seniors aren't getting it. They need to have multiple touches. They need to hear from a consistent voice, a trusted voice. And I hope that I've been able to do that as we approach, our 12-year anniversary. It's hard to say, what have I learned? What I've learned first and foremost is taking care of your health, knowing your numbers. I preach that and say that more often, on my show, probably than anything else. Know your cholesterol, know your blood pressure, know your PSA if you are a man, know all those sort of gateway numbers and begin to manage those numbers. That's what I know with respect to health. with respect to, say, wealth, and we talk about that as well, get your affairs in order. It's so important that many of us, don't have a will, don't have advanced directives and those sorts of things in place. And I encourage folks, if you can't do it formally, sit down with an attorney or even go online. If you can't do that, then write it on a sticky pad, write it and communicate it to someone else and multiple people that you trust and know. And so we speak about those basic sort of things that you and I, take for granted. So health and wellness and financial planning. And then, lastly, just social engagement. Self is so important. Get out of the four walls. I've learned that so much. Keep moving. Get out of your space, your four walls, and live life. I'm not a religious person, but I believe that if we are still here, on this planet, that we have a deposit, yet to give to those that are coming behind us. And I want my older adults to get out of their four walls and share it with me. I want to be a sponge of all of their experiences and wisdoms and little nuggets of information that they share with me from time to time. I grow from it. And so I always encourage them, get out, come out, be with us, talk. And so that's, I hope I've answered that question. I talk about health and wealth and self, all the time, but those are the nuggets, that I have learned and received from our community. Again, I've received so much more than I could ever give back to our older adult community here in the DC area.
I've heard you say that for a couple of years now, that you get so much out of it. And you're so right. Sometimes we need the reminders of the things that we take for granted, our health. I went into the doctor and found out I had, slightly elevated cholesterol, but mine was always low for years. I didn't suspect it. We all feel and may think everything's fine, but we do need to go all the time and get those checkups. And the great idea that you had about leaving information about, if you don't go do a will, put it on a sticky note, put your wishes somewhere so people know about it, talk with people about it. Those are such good nuggets of advice that we can overlook so easily and so quickly and just let them slide. So I love that.
Yeah, and it comes down for me, Dr. Heiser, just empowering our older adults with information, with tools and resources that can just improve their life. If not a lot, then even a little is better than nothing. And so that's all that I strive to do, and bringing on subject matter experts, like yourself, each and every week, 2 interviews each show. That's all that I try to do. I'm not some guy, some big highfalutin, if you will, guy. I'm just a regular guy who has decided to step out, jump out of his cocoon, right? Take that risk and just, broaden, the understanding and provide information for our older adults so they can just have a better, as I call it, a better seniorhood. And so that's where I am, and that's the space that I've been in, and that's the space that I will stay in, because like I said, if you sit down with folks and talk with them, even if they have ailments, right? Even if they are shut in, even if they are homebound and frail, they have so much to give, and they're just looking for someone to talk to. And if you have time and patience and an ear and a desire to seek understanding and not always be understood, then, you're going to gain so much more, from our older adults. They're here for a reason. And so I try to be a sponge as often as I can, while also directing them. I'm a traffic cop, I think, Dr. Heiser, of this information. Folks call me up. I have a Social Security question. Where do I go? I can direct them there. I have a question on housing, right? Or maybe I asked someone recently, talked to me, they have space, they have a home. How can they share their home? I know resources, but I can direct them. I'm just a traffic cop of information now, right? And it just pleases me when folks either email or call or text, where can I go for this? And I can easily direct them to those resources. And we've gotten a little clout here. When they mention my name in the senior zone, it helps them get into or with the person they're trying to get to solve their issues. So it just pleases me that I can do my part to help at least one person. And I think we've done that.
I love that you say you're a sponge. Of course, we know you're helping and you are giving out information, but when you say you're a sponge, and you're taking in the information, our seniors are our library. They're our most precious natural resources of our information, of their expertise, of their lifetime of knowledge. And it's such an important thing for everyone to be a sponge, because I learn all the time from people. It doesn't matter what age, but you always talk about being a sponge and taking it in and learning from others. And boy, is that so true, that if we can listen to older adults, we will be able to carry on the legacies of so many others, and all of their information. We don't have to start the wheel all over again.
Yeah. If you have a spirit, within you of kindness, if you have a spirit of caring for your fellow human being, I just happen to have devoted, my life journey, my seniorhood, 'cause I'm in my seniorhood now as well, to my peer group and those that are older, because, we speak about, say, frauds and scams, right? Dr. Heiser here on the show, and how to prevent them. If a low income senior, loses their, resources, there's no rebound period for them, right? They can't recoup that, right? They are, for lack of a better word, excuse me, they are screwed. And that, that right there, really gets to my core. It pisses me off when I hear of it, and it gets under my feathers so much. And so we speak about it because, I want them to be as informed as possible. And that's why, when I speak to them from one, I don't bring on anyone that I don't trust myself. I don't bring on any product or service or promote it if I won't use it myself or recommend it myself, for my own mother. Everyone who listens to the Senior Zone is no different than my mother. I will treat them the same and connect them with the resources and tools and programs that I would do my very own mother. And I keep that with me on every show, and every interview that I have. And I think that's what has made us relatable and just a trusted resource, and has given us longevity in this space that no one, to my knowledge, seemingly has dedicated themselves to. I hope others are looking at the Senior Zone and will adopt something similar in their markets and even here, because I'm only touching a small group, and I know there's many out there. So I hope that this can grow. I'm hoping some of your listeners will say this, take this and start it in, New York and California, and because there are folks that need, good information.
I agree with you. How can people find your show?
We can go to our website, theseniourzone.com. That's 3 words, theseniourzone.com. If they have any questions, you can email me as well. I can be reached at info, INFO, at theseniourzone.com.
Okay, that's great. I do hope people will reach out to you, because what a learning library you offer to people. And there's nothing better than the feeling of a safety net. If you don't know something and you can go somewhere and there's somebody there to catch you, that's what I think of the Senior Zone as, is a sort of a safety net for people. If you're feeling insecure about something, you can go to a trusted place to find good information. So I do hope people check out your site, check you out. And I want to give a shout out to Rosa Perry for getting you interested in aging. We should all think of our grandmas right now, and especially Rosa Perry for getting you into aging.
Well, thank you. I know she's not been with me for quite some time, but I know that she's smiling down on her oldest grandson today. I think that I would have made her proud. So thank you for saying that.
Well, thank you for being on the show, and I can't wait to learn about people who are coming to your show that are listening to After 40. Take care, Shawn.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Heiser, for this opportunity. Take care.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the After 40 podcast with Dr. Deborah Heiser, part of the ITSP Magazine podcast network. If you learned something new and this conversation made you think, then add this show to your favorite podcast player, subscribe to the ITSP Magazine YouTube channel, and share the ITSP Magazine podcast network with your friends, family, and colleagues. If you represent a company and wish to connect your brand to our conversations and our audience, visit itspmagazine.com to learn how to sponsor one or more of our podcast channels. We hope you will come back for more stories and follow us on our journey.